Hello, my name is Bodie Quirk, and this is the Essential Mac Setup. This is my non-negotiable configuration of apps and settings for streamlined Mac awesomeness. So who am I? My name is Bodie Quirk. I am a pastor in Orange, California, and I'm a new Genesis developer. I just got started about October and been learning as much as I can. As everybody in the Slack group knows, I ask lots and lots of questions. I finished my first Genesis site, which actually was my church site, and so it looks like this right here. This was the first my first Genesis site using Parallax Pro, so felt really excited about that. And I am here today to talk about what I call the Essential Mac Setup. And I am a veteran Mac geek. I have been using the Mac and Apple products for a long time, but the Mac especially. This was my first Mac. Oh, look at it. 14 inches of beauty. This was the iMac of, I don't know, 2008 or 9 or something like that. It was my first one, and since then, I've purchased a couple other Apple products. You could say I'm a fanboy, which may or may not be true. But today, what we are here to do is talk about the Mac. And so the Mac, this is the tool that we all use. A lot of us use this particular tool all day long. And so what I was hoping that my time would be able to do is just give some tips, some ideas of how to set it up and how to use the Mac in such a way to where you optimize it, where you get the most out of your time. And so what I want to do is I want to go over my goals for our time together. My first one is what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of share my ideal setup. Like I said, I've been doing this for a while. I love the Mac. I love learning more. I definitely don't know it all, but where I'm at right now, I'm calling my ideal setup. So I want to share that with you and see if you might be able to benefit from it. The two goals for doing this is I want to help you work more efficiently, because so often I see things that are just could be set up better, or tools that people don't even know about that if they did would save them loads of time. And that's really the third goal, is I want to save you time. As web developers, we are against the clock all the time. So if I can share with you one tip or tool or idea that shaves off, a couple minutes per day, every single day, man, that's going to really add up all the time. And so that's really going to get you to be able to do more, less, and really optimize this amazing tool. So those are my goals. The main theme of my talk is automation. And what I mean by automation is anything you do or setup that saves you time and or effort. So there's ways that we can use the Mac in such a way where we do lots of unnecessary work, or there's ways that we can set it up where things happen in 1 or 2 clicks. And the more we do that, again, the better off we are and the more we get done. And so we can go do other things that we love doing. So here's my disclaimer, okay? Some of this is going to be totally obvious. You're going to be like, wait, you're putting this in a talk? Obviously, I do that all the time. Here's the thing. I think so too, but not everybody does all this stuff, right? So I'm putting stuff out there from the beginning. If I was to train even someone who's new at the Mac, I think these are some good habits to start, whether you've been using it for years or not. So some of it you're going to probably find pretty obvious. Another thing is you're probably going to disagree with me on something. You might say, no, I like this tool, or I like this approach. I think you're wrong. Awesome. I would hope you disagree with me, because it means that you've thought about it. But sometimes we don't even know about certain things here. So that's what I'm hoping to do. So if you disagree, awesome, cool. There's more than one way to do a lot of this, stuff. And the third one is I just hope that something's helpful. I hope that this time is useful and that it's a blessing to you guys. So who is this for? Who's the audience? So I've made this for anyone who wants to get better with their Mac. So if anyone, whether you're a web designer or not, could watch this and say, man, I never thought about that, or I didn't know about that tool. That's cool, but there is going to be a special focus toward web designers, because this is obviously the Genesis Camp conference. And so even though it's a general talk about the Mac, I'm focusing towards web designers. So what am I not covering? Okay, here's what I'm not covering. I am not going to cover advanced topics like the terminal, AppleScript, or the Automator. Awesome stuff, worth your time, but just a little bit beyond the scope of what we're going to be doing here today. So today I am going to stick to the basics. I am going to cover kind of 2 main areas. The first one is the Finder, because there's lots of cool things that we could do to the Finder to help set it up in such a way to where it's a helpful tool. And the other one is that I want to go over what I call apps that you absolutely must have and why. There are some apps that I think are indispensable, and so that's what I wanted to show. So let's get to it. All right, so part one. This is what I call essential structure, one home for everything. And this idea of one home for everything is kind of permeate the talk, because I think if we get smart about deciding where certain things go and we only have one spot for certain kinds of things, it's going to make it very easy to build a very simple and clear and logical structure around it, to where the stuff's easy to find and we don't waste time looking for stuff when we don't need to. So that one home for everything concept is gonna permeate this whole talk. So what do I mean by that? One home for everything. So specifically, I mean, I want you to arrange your folders thoughtfully, and then I also want you to configure your Finder carefully, okay? So let's talk about folders. Yay, folders. What a thrilling topic. Yay, folders. Okay, so, but here's the thing with folders, okay? Good folder structure is the first key to Mac awesomeness, because everything is, you're forced to use folders, or you could dump everything on your desktop like this. But I don't think anybody would say that this is any kind of optimal workflow whatsoever, right? And or you could do it this way. This way, there's lots of files there, but I don't think this is where we're going. If you're a photo nut, hey, check that out, right? And if you're like me, if you're like the type A organizer person, there are two words entering your mind right now. Run away. Yep. Okay, so here's what I've got. I've got 4 simple rules for good folder structure. And I've tried lots of stuff. I'm kind of one of those overtly organized, nerdy people. So hopefully I've done and made lots of more mistakes. And this is kind of where I've landed after doing this for years and years and years. This is like the system that works for me, and you may find some use in it. Okay, so first up, create an inbox system for new files. So the question I have is, when you download stuff or when you have new files, where do they go? Like, have you decided on a spot? Obviously, the downloads folder is where stuff generally lands, right? But most of your downloads folders, I would bet, are a disaster, right? And so what I would recommend is create an inbox system. I'm going to show you a tool later that is so helpful with this. It will just blow your mind, okay? So create an inbox system. Another one of my rules is have only one current projects folder. So you have one spot for current projects, and a current project is something that's current, right? You don't have 47 current projects. You might have 2, 3, 4, I don't know, but put them all, if they're really truly active projects, they only go in this folder and nothing else goes in that folder. Of course, they would have their own subfolders, and you pull the assets and files in each appropriate one. But having one current projects folder means when you get up, you fire on, you're ready to go to work, you click one place and you are at the spot where your files are. You don't have to go hunting around or any of that stuff. So one current projects folder. Another one is maintain an archive system by life area. So I'll show you how I set mine up, and I think it just makes lots of sense to separate files out based on parts of your life. We are web designers, that's where the majority of us, or our files are, but you have lots of other files. So don't mix them, right? Have them based on the area that they go in. And lastly, is put them somewhere that syncs to all devices, right? You don't want to have to do this more than one time. Get a structure in place and put it somewhere where it's going to sync, where it's going to show up on your phone, or it's going to show up on your desktop or laptop, where it's going to be one system that is unified no matter where you are. And so that way it makes it very simple, right? So here's mine. This is what I did. And so I'm going to walk you through just some of the pieces, why I kind of set it up this way. Again, this is not the holy grail file organization. It's helpful, though, for me, and here's why. Okay, so what I've got is, first thing I do is I've got dividers, and all they are folders with just kind of custom names. So you'll see that the inboxes and the files, visually I look at them, and they look different than everything else because they're meant to. They're meant to be kind of like headers, right? The Finder doesn't really give us a way to kind of create blocks or sections, so you kind of have to hack it a little bit, but it accomplishes the goal because when I look at it, I see instant sections, right? So I've got the visual cues. Those dividers provide the visual cues. You also see that my first one, my top one, are inboxes. So all my inboxes, you can see I've got them by type, documents, photos, etc., right? But they've got the dashes in front. So instantly, I look over, I know exactly where inbox is for. And inboxes are for stuff that I just got or downloaded, or stuff I'm trying to see. It's not an archive. I might be using it for a project. It's an inbox, right? But it's by type. Well, I'm not going to sit there and put all the documents, grab them one by one, and put them in the documents folder. I got a tool for that later, okay? But this is ultimately where they're going to land. And so it's nice that it separates all of the stuff that you download during projects to one area. And again, one click gets you to all of the appropriate sections. You downloaded an MP3, boom, you're going to look in the audio video folder and it's going to be right there, okay? So that's the idea of inboxes. They're not cluttering up your downloads folder. They're not, gosh, cluttering up your desktop. Please don't keep stuff on your desktop more than a couple minutes. That's my rule. If it's longer than a couple minutes, it's got to go somewhere else. Desktop's a great spot if you want to just hold something, but I'll get off that later, or I'll show you those pictures again, which might be a threat. So that's the idea with inboxes, and it's so nice because then you've always got a spot where you can go based on file type of stuff that you just grabbed. So it makes it very quick to find it. Here's another one. So this is the current projects folder. So if I'm working on 2 or 3 sites, this is where the assets live. And if I feel like a client's gone on pause, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to move it down there to the web design folder, and I'm going to keep it on pause until it's active again, because this is so helpful to have a one shot where you just click on it, you go, and you've got your stuff in there, okay? Archives. So what I do is I kind of number them based on kind of the area of my life, just so that they sort beautifully. Again, the Finder doesn't have this automatic sorting. It doesn't have manual sorting that I'm aware of. So you got to kind of number them, and I number them differently than the inboxes because I want them to stick out. I want them to look different. So my stuff is different than my family stuff. It's different than my church stuff. It's different than my web design stuff, right? But the idea is it's one unified system. And it's customized and organized, and you do it once, and then you don't have to think about it again. You know exactly where stuff is. So that's the archives, and you see the couple of applications in Lightroom. So that's the stuff. That's even the selected folder, right? So this is like backups and things like that. Anything that has to do with programs. I used to sync a lot of stuff with Dropbox. I've moved a lot of it to iCloud because I do a shared Dropbox. But no matter what, like if it has to do with an application, I move it away because it's not really an area of my life. And then Lightroom is where all my pictures are. So that's the archive. So in the last area, of course, you don't want to do this twice. You don't want to do this 4 times. Don't do this on every computer. Use Dropbox. Use whatever else is out there. SugarSync, I don't know. But I've used Dropbox for years. It's $10 a month for a terabyte. Like, that's amazing. It used to be $10 a month for 100 gigs. So I can do this one time, and it just magically syncs across all my computers. This is not news. Everybody knows about Dropbox, but what's so great is that Dropbox is so good at syncing messes when we create messes, but it's also so good at creating syncing order when we think and we set up ahead of time. So those are my rules. Have an inbox system, create only one current projects folder, maintain an archive system by life area, and sync them. That's pretty simple stuff, right? Stuff you probably already know, but are you doing it? Do you have your own system set up? That's a suggestion there. So that's what I mean by arrange your folders thoughtfully. Every kind of file, one home for everything. Every kind of file needs to go somewhere, whether it's just something you just downloaded or grabbed, or it's something that you're keeping and archiving for a while. Just do the thinking ahead of time, and then you're done. Okay, second one is configure your Finder carefully. Okay, so here's the thing. The Finder, and I'm calling it the Finder, even though it's finder.app. The Finder, it's on there whether you like it or not, right? And the little bugger, he knows it, right? He knows that you can't take them off. You can't even close the darn Finder, so you're forced to use it. But here's the thing about the Finder. It wants to help you be awesome, okay? The Finder, it really does. But the default settings are terrible, and you must destroy them, all right? So let's look at the Finder. The default Finder is like that. That's the default Finder, right? Keanu, what do you think? Yeah, that's terrible. Exactly. Okay, so that's the thing with the Finder, there's some great stuff about it. It's just not configured very well up the beginning. So you got your toolbar, right, which is super helpful, super amazing. It's one-click goodness, and it's so unintuitive because there's an awesome little contextual menu that you can totally mess around with it that you would never totally know unless you got up and played around. Right, so it's out of the box, totally unintuitive, right? Then you got the sidebar, and you see that favorites area up there at the top. The most valuable real estate in the Finder is that favorites bar, and what is in there is about 90% of stuff. Yeah, you're going to use this stuff, but I'm going to bet that you could customize that baby so much more efficiently to the stuff that you're actually working on. So I think that the favorites is such a cool feature of Finder. That sidebar is great, and it stinks the way it comes out of the box. Okay, the tab bar, the path bar, the status bar, not even there by default. These are really helpful little settings about the Finder that you could turn on that you would never even know. Like most people, they just start using it, right? And the basic configurations stink. So let's fix this, okay? Let's fix some of these things, shall we? Okay, so first thing you should do is do not use icon view because it sucks, unless you're looking at pictures, right? So use column view instead. So you see the little pointer there is going up there. You want to change it to column view, and the reason why you want to change it to column view is because you get columns of happiness. And the reason why I love column view and you default to column view is because it's less clicks. You can see into the next column when you have something selected. Okay, so then let's bring back the tabs. So I think in Mavericks, Apple announced tabs for the Finder, which is rad because you never used to have Finder tabs. So, but they're not turned on. So turn them on under that view menu right there, and you'll see that it looks like this little bar right there, and you can have 5 or 6 or 7 tabs for the Finder in one window, which is nice. Nice little way of organizing it, right? Tab bar for the win. Okay, what about the status bar? Okay, status bar is this cool little thing that gives you like live information about stuff that you are looking at the moment, right? But it's not turned on. So go to that view menu, hit that show status bar option or command back forward slash command that one. And I don't know why this isn't on by default, but when you turn it on, it gives you this bar down here at the bottom, which at the moment here just says 6 items because it's looking at the all my files, the most useless thing ever in the default favorites. I hide that thing all the time, but it's saying, hey, you got 6 files in here. Well, what's also cool is that if you have that little guy turned on, it also gives you hard drive space. If you got items selected, it'll give you like how many items, if you're working on pictures or something where you just did like a command A, it'll show you how many you've got. Like it's just a nice little status indicator of whatever it is that you happen to currently be working on or selected or focused on. So turn that baby on too. And then the last one is the path bar, right? Which the path bar is awesome. I didn't even know there was a path bar until I bought Pathfinder, which is a third-party app, which has this cool path at the bottom that kind of looks like this, right? The path, it shows you the actual path for whatever file you're looking at. I didn't even know the darn Finder had this until I bought Pathfinder 7, that's one of its key features. We'll talk about that later. Pathfinder, I think, is better than Finder in most areas, but turn that thing on because it's great. You can look down there one shot and you can see where you're at. And so this is kind of great because you've got the column view, which shows you where you're at, but you also got the path right down there. So if you happen to click on a file in a sidebar and you only see one column worth of stuff, the Pathfinder, what gives you the actual true path of where that thing lives. And that can be so helpful if you're looking for something, if you're digging deep in preferences and you don't even know exactly how you got there, that little Pathfinder setting or path bar setting is awesome. Okay, so now is when things get really good because do you remember that little folder structure that we set up? Well, congratulations, it's your new sidebar. Okay, so let's go back and look at the default, right? So you've got your sucky default favorites, which you should just be screaming in your heart, no, do not put up with such madness, I say. No, what you want to do, and these are mine, put your real favorites in there, right? The whole purpose of creating this structure is that you can have one-click access to it, right? You just downloaded a file. I don't know, where did it go? It might be in Documents. One click, boom, done. You want to go into your archives, one click. Current projects, one click. I can't tell you how much time taking 10, 15 minutes, setting up some inboxes, setting up a current projects folder, organizing my files by life area, and then plopping it in the sidebar has saved me because it gives me one shot. I don't have to go digging through Finder anywhere. I fire up a new window and there it is, no matter what, which is very cool. So congratulations, right? This is my admonition to you. If you take the time, set up your folders and your Finder thoughtfully, you have just eliminated at least 1 million unnecessary clicks from your future, and you have saved yourself hours upon hours by putting your most used folders and spots and locations away in the sidebar. If you notice, one little difference that I did is I put desktop, downloads, and applications up there at the top, because those are the three on the original favorites that are very useful. I use those all the time, so I put them right above there because, again, it's just really quick. So real favorites, which, like a good friend, they're always there when you need them. So last thing I suggest doing is look up there at that toolbar, right? And so what I want you to do is I want you to right-click on that baby, and I'm going to show you how to take off some of these useless icons. What we got here is if I hit Command-N on the Finder and I bring up a new window, you'll see right here, I'm going to expand it out a little bit. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit later. This guy is configurable, but you would never know it unless you right-click on there. But when you do, you right-click and you click that little Customize Toolbar, and all of a sudden, boom, there's like 150 cool options on here. But you can also see that these are editable, so you can drag these around, right? You can put this over here. So what I do, what's crazy is that the two most useful things do not come on the default, which I believe are this one, the new folder and delete. They should be up here, right? Share, do I use that? Not really. I mean, I can get to it from a menu. I don't use it as much. But delete, new folder, I'm using all the time. The third most useful button for me, besides these view menus, is this little guy, the arrange button. Oh, this thing is fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to put these three next to each other, and I'm going to click done. And now every time a Finder window opens, I've got my search, I've got the three most useful buttons, and if there's more, if you like, no, I use tags a lot, so I want to do the edit tags button. It's right there. You just drag it up. Boom, and it's done. Okay, I don't use tags very much, so I'm going to take it off. I'm going to hit done. So now, no matter what, I have these useful things one click away, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. This part up here, this part over here, and this part down here should all be 1 or even 0 clicks. Where am I right now? Hey, guess what? My path bar tells me how much hard drive space do I have. I don't have to go look around. I don't have to go up here and click on this and go to, no. I can see it right down here. I got 392. So my suggestion is customize the Finder a little bit like this, and you will save yourself so much time in the future. So let's head back over here. And let's do this. Okay, so now we've got our folders and our Finder. They're configured for Mac awesomeness, but we are just getting started. So what we've done so far is we've got our folders arranged thoughtfully. We've got our Finder kind of configured, and now it's time to use key third-party apps prolifically. And so part 2 of this is really where it gets fun, is what I call essential apps. And these are apps that will be on my Mac, or I won't use it until I install them. So these apps are the best stuff out there. I consider them essential. I put them on. I just got a laptop, and the very first thing I did was put on the group of apps that I'm about to show you. So I've kind of grouped them together. The first group here is I call speed and automation apps. And so let's get into it, okay? So the first app, probably the best app ever that could go on a Mac, is, of course, Microsoft Word, the essential word processing tool. Just kidding. So it's not Microsoft Word, but it is, in fact, Text Expander. So Text Expander is the coolest thing. I will not have a Mac without Text Expander, because Text Expander is the magical tool that types for you. And so why is it that Text Expander rocks? Okay, so with Text Expander, what you do is you create these little things called snippets, right? It's a little 2 or 3 character code, right? So if it was like you were typing, my house is a great big house, and you would just do my H, boom, it'll type out the rest for you. So you type a little, it types a lot, which you'll see is very useful in a second, okay? Another thing that it does, and this is new in version 5 that just came out a couple weeks ago, is that it suggests snippet possibilities for you. So it kind of watches what you do, and if you're typing the same thing over and over again, it gently taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, you may want to think about making a snippet for that. You're typing that over and over again, which is great because it saves you time. It can be a little bit annoying, and so there was ways to say, okay, thanks for the suggestion, but I'm not listening to you, and that's we'll show you that in a second. But another cool thing is that it syncs over iCloud. Version 4 only only was able to sync with Dropbox, and now you can do it in iCloud, which I found has been Fabulous. So, and then another cool thing about it, which doesn't really have to do with today because we're just talking about the Mac, but if you have iOS devices, it works on iOS too, especially if you get, well, it can sync either way. I just really like iCloud Sync. But what's cool about it is that there's actually a text expander keyboard. So all of your snippets that you keep and sync in Text Expander are now available to you on your iOS device, which is great because if you get used to typing shortened versions of stuff that you do all the time, my biggest things I love Text Expander for are simple stuff, right? My email address, my name, my address, stuff that I type a lot, but when I only type 2 or 3 characters and it types the rest, and I do that 1,000 times, it has saved me serious hours of my life. So what's great about that is it's a universal experience for those of you that don't just use the Mac but use iOS devices. Okay, let me give you a quick demo of Text Expander so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so if we bring it up here, what you'll see is this is Text Expander right here. You've got, and it's basically a collection of snippets. You can organize them in folders, and what a snippet is, let me show you one. Let's go to the HTML one here. Okay, so a snippet is 3 things, right? It is the actual text that you want expanded or written out that you don't want to write yourself. That goes up here in this section. A label down here, that's just kind of for you so that you can know that what it is, right? So if you've got a bunch of snippets here, this is just for you. But this is the actual, this is what you type, which is the trigger for Text Expander to say, oh, you're not just typing text, you actually want me to expand this for you. And so I've noticed that pretty much every time I do a left bracket and a D, what do you think I'm typing? I'm usually typing the code to add a div for something. So what I did is I made this little snippet here that says every time I type left bracket D, it's going to expand into this. Now what's going on here is you'll see that everything here looks normal except for this little guy right here. And so this is Text Expander specific markup, which is basically saying not only do I want you to write this actual text here, but this percentage, and then that's not, it's like this little straight thing over here under the delete key. I don't know what it's called, but the little straight key, whenever you put that inside a snippet, what you're telling Text Expander is saying, not only do I want you to write this text, but I want you to put the cursor right exactly in this spot. So let me show you how it works, right? So if I go over here to byword, this is just a little basic text thing that just quit on me. Awesome. Okay, byword, you fail me. So let's go ahead and try again. So if I type my little abbreviation down here, right, left bracket, D, look what happens. A little happy Text Expander bubble sound pops up, and you'll notice that it does exactly what it says it's going to do. It types div with a class, and then it closes the div, but it's got the cursor right there for me to type a class of awesome, right? So if I've got my class of awesome, it's ready for me to do it. All I have to do is type left bracket D, and Text Expander puts it right there, and I type very awesome, very awesome. Okay, so Text Expander can do so much more than that. You can create forms with fill-ins and drop-downs. You can do pretty much anything that you put in here, Text Expander will do. What's also cool about Text Expander is that it has this thing called Text Expander Touch for iOS, and so you can actually set it up in such a way to where all of these snippets are available for those. I don't see it on here on the menu. I thought it was here. Are available on iOS. Now, here's the thing, okay? So there's different ways to set up what's called the expansion. Like, how does Text Expander know when to expand something, right? Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to be typing text, you know, and all of a sudden Text Expander is freaking out and expanding things. You want to create a system to where you know that you're firing off a snippet. You're not just typing words, okay? So what Text Expander does, if you go up here in the preferences, it's got this expansion part. So right here this is saying I want you to expand the abbreviations, and then here's the little drop down. This is where I think is helpful. You have immediately when typed, which is what you just saw. I typed left bracket D and it expanded to the rest, right? Or if I were to change this, this is called a delimiter. So a delimiter is kind of like a go button, right? So if I were to say yes, I want to do a delimiter, and I want to get rid of the delimiter, so it's just basically it's like an enter key. Here's what I mean by that. So let's do that, and I'm going to set the delimiter to be this backtick right here. This is just an example. Okay, so if I go back over here now into byword, if it doesn't crash on me, I now type left bracket D and it doesn't do anything because I've told Text Expander, hey, don't do anything until I hit the delimiter. And I set my delimiter to be a backtick. So now I'm going to hit the backtick key and it's going to get rid of the backtick, which is this little guy here. This says the abandoned delimiter. It says, I don't want you to keep that as part of what I typed. It's just my enter button. Okay, now, which is very, very cool. Now, the problem with this is that if you use iOS, you have to switch keyboards to get to these delimiters. And so what I did is I set up I said I don't want to use a delimiter, but I kind of did a fake one. So here's how I have set mine up, and the main use for this is universal iOS text expander use. If you just use the Mac, I would suggest using some sort of delimiter key that you don't use all the time, which you could act as your kind of enter key, so that it knows that, hey, I want you to expand when I hit this key. What I've done is I've set everything up except for this stuff here to be the X key, right? So if I go to, let's go to Bible stuff, right? So if I'm working on Bible stuff, I'm typing these kinds of names in all the time. But if you notice, there's a consistency in all of these things. It's the X key. So I didn't actually go into here and set a custom delimiter because I want a key to act as a delimiter on iOS where I don't have to keep switching keyboards. And the basic iOS keyboard, it's the only reason Text Expander is useful is if you don't have to start switching keyboards. As soon as you start doing that, you start wasting time. So I decided that I'm going to use the X key as my delimiter. So if I want to do the book Ephesians, right, I'm going to type just this right here, EPHX, and it's going to type out whatever it is I've told it to type out. And so for me, I've tried lots of different systems, and I've found that using the X key or some kind of letter like that wouldn't be normally part of the word has been the best way to set up Text Expander. So there's so much more to talk about with Text Expander. I suggest you get it. This is essential, especially when when you start typing your email. Like everything you have to log in is your email. Literally, when I type my email, I do this. I do EMX, and it's gone, and that's my email address. So send me some praise about Text Expander. But I can't say enough good things about Text Expander. Once you start using it, you are going to love it. And Text Expander is $44.95. It is available at smilesoftware.com. And I swear, once you start expanding stuff and that little happy bubble sound starts filling your day, you will not be able to do without it. You'll go on computers without Text Expander and you will be frustrated. So get Text Expander. Number 2, the second app that I think is absolutely essential, and it's one that I may have used already, but this is Alfred 2. This is the quiet, gentle little automation beast. And Alfred is so amazing because what Alfred does, it's this tiny little utility, but you can do almost anything. You can find almost anything. You can launch things. It's an app launcher, but it's bigger and better than that. So if you just want to know why Alfred 2 rocks, here's the thing. So it's lightning fast. Like there's no moving the mouse. There's no go. You just right from the keyboard. You fire it up, you type it, you go, and you're done. I'll show you in a second. You can search, you can find, you can launch almost anything in one spot. I mean, Alfred does so many things that almost anytime I've got to start or find or do or launch something new, I always start with Alfred. I don't go looking for apps. I don't go looking for files. I launch Alfred probably 150 times an hour because it's so useful. One of the cool things about Alfred is if you can actually build custom workflows, so you can actually have Alfred do more stuff than it does coming out of the box, and that's we'll talk about that in a little bit. But the great thing about Alfred is it saves you so much time. It's so fast. Then it's so much faster than doing pretty much anything else as far as getting and finding stuff, right? So let's do a little demo here. I'm going to close this down. So Alfred's cool because you wouldn't even know that it's running, right? But if you just hit I've configured Alfred to be command space. So command space is not Alfred by default, right? But I have hit command space. And if you hit command space after you've configured it, this is what happens. This little guy comes up and you got the little hat and it's simple. It's clean. You don't know that there is immense power living inside here with Alfred. So for example, what can Alfred do? Well, for one, it's an app launcher. So let's say I want to launch a desktop server. Okay. I'm ready to do some work. DES, right? I type DES, it filters down, I hit enter, boom, desktop server launches. Okay. Let's say I want to launch or I'm not sure the name of it, but I want to see. Okay, let's just do. I'm looking for Sublime maybe, or oh okay, oh yeah, I've got these other things here too. But if you notice, if I type SU, not only do I have Sublime Text and Suitcase Fusion and other stuff, it starts to look in your contacts. So Alfred is also a contact searcher, right? Which is very cool. If you only have someone's first name or last name, it reaches into your contacts once you set it up to do that. And it can do that. Another really cool thing that you have to configure. Now, how to configure Alfred is the little gear is right there. This gets you into the preferences. Now, there's two versions of Alfred. There's the free version, and then there's the paid version, which is called the Power Pack. And so the Power Pack gives you all kinds of new features. So this is where I've configured command space. And if you're like, okay, I don't know how to change that, you actually need to go into your system preferences and change the keyboard from right here. Spotlight is originally configured command space, command shift space. Uncheck those, and then you can go back over here to Alfred, and that will work. Otherwise, that particular keyboard shortcut won't work. I find it to be very, very fast and easy, so we'll use it right there. So but some of the other cool stuff that Alfred has is, for example, you can enable 1Password. And so if you type 1P, we'll get to 1Password a little bit later, but if I go here, now I can actually search through. If I type 1Password, not only will it launch the program 1Password if I hit enter right there, but what Alfred will do, if I type 1P again, I can actually search inside my bookmarks, and I say, I want the one for Amazon.com or whatever, but that's not working right now. So I think I don't have this set up. This is on my new computer. But if you find an open 1Password bookmark, that's where that will do that. I think I've got that messed up and configured. So what else can Alfred do? Alfred can find files for you. And so one of the things that you can do is you can focus Alfred in specific ways with keywords. So for example, if you hit find, and then now you're saying, I don't want you to go look on the internet for anything. I'm looking for a file. I'm looking for my Parallax Pro installation files for Genesis. So I'm going to do Parallax, right? And you see, okay, boom. So what it's done is it's quickly searched through all my files, and it's breaking down. So you see I've got this, and here I see, oh, here's a folder. Now this is a Power Pack feature right here. If the free version, this won't work. So this little guy, this here is your enter key, right? But if I press the right arrow key with the Power Pack activated, I get more options. So not only can I go browse the folder, I can actually open it, I can do that, but I can reveal in Finder. There's all of these things that you can do without going into Finder, without doing any of this stuff, just the inside Alfred. So let's say I want to find this in Finder, and boom, I have now jumped 17 steps directly into where my Parallax Pro child theme lives inside my Genesis folder. Super fast and easy, okay? So if that's accomplished by doing find. Another thing you can do is you can type in. Now if you type in, not only will this search inside, not only will it search for files, it'll search inside files for certain things. So if you're like, I'm looking for, I don't know, the word friend, this will search inside files, which this is not useful right now, for a friend. But imagine you're like, I don't know the name of the document. All I know is inside it's got this specific word. Well, Alfred can do that for you as well. If you don't type any type of things and you just type MacBook Pro, what you're going to see here, if I could type. Here, the default search options. Now, what's cool is that these are configurable. So the first one, if I hit enter, it's going to launch Safari, and it's going to search for MacBook Pro, right? But if you're like, okay, I don't want to use Google, I want to use something else, this is configurable. So if you just hit, if you type MacBook Pro, right there, if you just type down, now it's going to search Amazon. If I go down again, it'll search Wikipedia. Let's say you use DuckDuckGo as your primary search browser. You can configure that. If let's say you use Chrome, or you want to search Yahoo instead of Google, or you want to do all of this custom stuff, Alfred is there for you. So Alfred is the way that I pretty much start anything. Whenever I'm looking for something, you can do that. But it's more than just finding files, right? Let's say you want to define a word. Type it in define, right? Define cat, right? Oh, small distance. Okay, very cool. What Alfred can also do math for you. You just start typing in 8 plus 8, and you see, without even hitting enter, it gives me the answer. But if I do hit enter, it'll copy that to the clipboard if you want to use it. And it gets way more complex than that. The key is here, you're not doing this. You're not going, oh, let's go down to my dock, and then I click on this, and then I click on applications, and then I need to do desktop server. So you scroll. No. None of that. Boom. Command space DES. Done. Right? That is how we save lots of time, and that's how we can do that. And so this is my plea to you to use Alfred. There's so much more. If you actually, let me go back here. If I go hide that real quick and I bring up Safari using Alfred, right? If I go over here, this is the Alfred website. This is alfredapp.com, and you'll see it just does loads and loads of stuff. I highly recommend, it does maps, right? I highly recommend getting the Power Pack because it just basically activates all of the really cool stuff. Like you can save your clipboard and snippets. So go to alfredapp.com. Don't waste time watching me. Go to alfredapp.com. You do it. And all of this goodness is awaiting for you. I don't know what it costs. I think it's like 25 or 26. It's in pounds, which is right around $26 for the Power Pack. My goodness, so incredibly worth it. So I highly suggest going back and doing that, and make sure that you get yourself Alfred. It is so amazing in its time-saving stuff. So that's number 2. Here we go. Number 3. Let's keep going. Number 3 is Hazel. Hazel is your Mac's amazing maid that never sleeps. So let me show you exactly why Hazel is so incredibly cool. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give a couple ideas for why Hazel rocks. Okay, Hazel, it rocks because it's automatic filing for anything. Like Hazel, you set it up and it just automatically, wherever you're pointing it automatically does whatever you tell it to do. And it's always on, right? You can set up these really, really cool, specific, powerful rules that make Hazel amazing. And then after setup, you do nothing. It's kind of like the folder structure earlier. Set it up once, you don't need to think about it again. But Hazel's even better because we're going to now connect. Hazel is going to automatically file everything into your folder. So let's go ahead and give a quick demo. Let me show you what I mean by this. Okay, so Hazel lives up in your toolbar here, and it's also a preference pane. So if you go over to System Preferences, you'd see it down there. And here is where you set up your rules. And so rules are always based on a location. I basically don't use Hazel much beyond the downloads folder, but Hazel, for the downloads folder alone, Hazel is infinitely worth it. You can do this, but to any folder in your system. I just find the download folder to be the one that is the most disgustingly disorganized and the one that collects so much junk. So let's look at it real quick. So I'm going to go back over here to Finder. I'm going to bring up a new window. I'm going to shoot that over there, and then we've got the inboxes that we've set up, right? So the whole point of doing the inbox system the way that we did was for Hazel. Because here's what you do, is you take you say, okay, you're going to add this here. It says, what location do you want me to look at? I'm going to add the downloads folder, okay? So I've already added it here. And then you're like, great, what do you want me to do as I look at that? And that's what these rules are for. So you see I've got some regarding to QIF files, DMG files, but really the money shot are what do you want me to do with all these documents that I download? I download stuff like crazy, and I don't ever have to think about it. I go immediately to documents because of these Hazel rules. So let me launch one open for you and give you a look about it. And so here, what I'm basically saying is I'm saying if any of these following conditions are met, then do this. And so I went through and I said, okay, whatever counts as a document, look for the extension. The extension was the easiest one for it to be have consistent results. So I said, if you ever see a file that has any of these extensions, and there's so many of them, then what I want you to do is I want you to move the file to where? The documents inbox. And that's all I ever want to go there. So I don't ever drag anything there myself. Hazel does it for me, right? So if I go over here and I grab, let's just take something out, right? Let's say that I've got a TXT file here and I've got this empty thing right there. And so TXT is one of the file types I have Hazel looking at. So here, if it says, actually I don't. So that's probably why it wasn't in that folder in the first place. So let's add it. Extension is .txt, right? Don't have to put the dot, just save it in there. Now I've just updated this particular rule. I take this file, and what do? I dump it in my downloads folder, and then watch what happens. So I download it there. Boom. Hazel says, oh, hey, guess what? You just have a file that I have a rule connected to. I'm going to go ahead and move it from the downloads folder over to this documents folder. Now I've duplicated it because I already had one in there, so we can delete that. But the point is that the reason why that automatically moved it over there was because of this Hazel rule. Now imagine if you had rules for all of this. So the photos, any type of photo, file type, right? You set it up once, and then it moves it from the downloads folder right there. So imagine every type of file type you have automatically filtered and filed, that you never have to touch yourself once you set up the rules. And the cool part about this is that I am going to export all of these rules for you, and then you won't have to set it up yourself except for the location. So if you'll notice here, this location is based on my system. So you're gonna have to fix this part down here, but that's an easy fix rather than having to set up all of these things. And now any type of file type that arrives in your downloads folder, Hazel sees it, moves it, and it's done. So that way, later when you got to go clean up stuff, you don't have to look at a big messy downloads folder. You just go to your inboxes, right? And then, so if you notice here, I actually have created secondary inboxes, not necessary, but I've noticed that even my documents folder can get messy. So I created another rule for the documents folder. I don't think it's on here. I haven't moved it over to this computer yet. But the idea is that Hazel, any type of folder that has a lot of activity, if you point Hazel at it and set up some rules, instantly you're done. And it can do whatever you want. It can rename files. It can label them. It can do, Hazel is extremely, extremely powerful. And so as you download and create lots of files, I don't even look at it. I just dump it in my downloads folder, and I know that it's going to end up where I need it to be. So Hazel, indispensable. Not the best demo of it, but Hazel is so good. It just moves stuff automatically. So Hazel is there. It's not the power pack. That went with Alfred. The cost is $29. Let's just change that right now. Costs, price tag, whatever, $29, and boom, you got it. So Hazel, indispensable. Okay, this is getting a little bit long, so I want to keep moving a little bit. I want to go into the second group. These are going to be much quicker. I'm going to group them together, and like really, group one, those ones will definitely reinvent your Mac workflow. But I wanted to make sure that I mention these next two groups. I'm going to group them all together, do them pretty quickly, and I want to just make sure you knew about them. And these are all about, group two is all about keeping your workspace clean. And so these are 4 essential workspace apps that I love and use. So they are Startupizer, Moom, Total Spaces, and Bartender. So Startupizer is a login item manager. So if you use a lot of these utilities and you want them to start every single time, Startupizer will actually group all of those for you into one startup experience. You turn the computer on, all of them start up, and they're ready to go. Moom is a window management tool. I'm going to show you in a second. Total Spaces is a desktop management tool, and Bartender is a toolbar manager tool. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that down there. These are the websites where you can go get them. Startupizer is here at gentlebytes.com. It's $9.99. Great little app. It just allows you to configure the order and how things start up, and you can actually set certain ones to delay. If you want Dropbox, for example, to start and kind of hang on for a little bit, you can put everything else in there. So literally just start your computer up and it just gets ready the way that you want it to work. Very, very cool. Bartender is a utility app. It's also here. It's I'm not sure if it's going to look like El Capitan is going to be compatible on there. I read that earlier, so that should be good. But this manages this little guy right up here, and I'll show you that in a second. Total Spaces is kind of like, I think they took this out of the OS X, and Total Spaces is a program that allows you to have multiple desktops and assign programs to certain desktops only to keep your work kind of organized. And then Moom is a blended name between Move and Zoom, and it's custom window management here by Minitrix, $10. 3 great little apps. So I want to show you those real quick. So Startupizer is right up here, and there's my list. I mean, I've got a text expander, Alfred, everything that I've mentioned, Hazel, including ones that I haven't quite mentioned, didn't have time for today. I use these all the time. So I put them in Startup Advisor and they just start up every single time. I can't show you that because it's already started up, but that's what Startup Advisor does. Now, Moom is great because what it allows you to do, Moom it gives you a keyboard shortcut to which to manage some windows. So let me go ahead and find her. Let me go ahead and press Command N, and let's get some new windows up here. So what's I've got these two here. So I've got these two windows, right? Well, I could grab them and I could be like, okay, I really want this over here. Oh, that doesn't work, and spend time fiddling with it. Or I could fire up my keyboard shortcut in Moom, which brings me up to this window, and I've configured it. Mine is Command Control M, but it's whatever you set it to, and it goes away if you don't do anything. But this is like in Moom mode, right? Not there. So Moom, Command Control M, and then if I press the right arrow key as I've configured it, it will. Come on, I gotta be here. Gotta be quicker. Gotta move it over. So what that does, Command Control M, left arrow key says I want the left half of the screen. Command Control M, right is the right half of the screen. So what if I want the full screen? I don't want it to be a full screen app. I just want it to take up my full window. Well, then I just hit the space bar and it takes the whole thing. So it's really nice is if you got windows on top of each other, Moom allows you to just really quickly with the keyboard, okay, I put that over there. I want this one full screen. No, I don't. I want this over here. And then you can close them down. So Moom is a great little thing, and Moom is built right into these little guys up here. So if you hover over them, you'll see the options here. Now, I think this is slower and I don't use it, but this is like bottom half, top half, right side, left side. You see that's the one we got on right now, and full screen. That's fine. I think it's too slow. I'd rather just hit the keyboard shortcut in the space bar, or the keyboard shortcut. I keep hitting the emoji keyboard shortcut. Wrong one. Keyboard shortcut, and then the right and left arrow key. I think that's faster, but that's very, very helpful. Total Spaces allows you to create desktops, and that's what this little guy is right here. So I've created 6 desktops. If I go to the overview grid right here, it tells me, okay, this is what you got going on. See, this was my text expander, there's ScreenFlow, what I'm using to make this, and you can choose which one you want, and it's really nice to assign certain apps to certain areas because sometimes you don't want your stuff all mixed up in one spot. So let's go back to Keynote here. Use Alfred and get us back over to Keynote. And then the last one I wanted to show you is Bartender. And so Bartender is really cool. Bartender manages your toolbar up here. So if you notice, I've got a small little group here, but I've also got this little guy right here. And if you click him, oh, there's like 10 more down there. And this is what Bartender does. It allows you to create a subgroup of toolbar items based on whether you want to see them or not. So if you go over here to the preferences, this is where you tell Bartender, hey, do you get to be on the top? Is it one of my winner apps like 1Password? Always going to be on the top. So that one's going to, that when you're going to say, do nothing, don't touch it. But, you know, some of these other ones, like, I don't know, Pathfinder, okay? I want to show in the bartender bar, not in the menu bar, and that's where this little guy is right here. So I've got, this is the Moom right there. So certain things I want on and running, I just don't need to see them. I'm not going to interact with them in the top bar, so I hide them, and that's what Bartender is great for. So if you feel like your toolbar is just out of control, Bartender is like $10 or something like that, just grab it and you're golden. Okay, as I wrap up, I just wanted to include just a couple more things, and really it's because I felt like they would just be incomplete if we didn't do it. And that was group 3, and I call group 3 awesome homes for the rest of your stuff. So we talked about the idea of one home for everything, where we have stuff for inboxes, we have stuff for files and archives and current projects, but other things in your life, in your digital life on your Mac need homes too. And so I've got 3 apps that I just couldn't live without, and though I'm not going to do demos or any of that, I just wanted to include them real quick. And so these are 3 awesome digital homes: Evernote, 1Password, and OmniFocus. And so Evernote is the home for all the non-sensitive information in your life. So the color of the paint, the name of the paint for your daughter's bedroom, the manual for the Cuisinart, the documents, the tickets for the concert that you got emailed, the PDF. It's just it's a place for reference and for information, not necessarily for files. That's really better for Dropbox or something like that. But just information you got to keep. There's no active action items connected to it, but you got to have it somewhere and you got to get to it quick. Evernote is the best for that because it's everywhere on all your devices. It's searchable, and if you take a photograph and you have, I believe, the Plus or Premium account, you can search inside the photograph. So the text inside photographs becomes searchable. So Evernote is truly the best place to just dump stuff, articles, web articles, code snippets, stuff that you just want as reference, but you're not doing anything with. My goodness, Evernote is just amazing for that. 1Password, however, is for all sensitive information. So login items, credit cards, all of the things that you would consider very sensitive. 1Password is the best spot for that because it is 256-bit encryption. It is very, very well done. The syncing is flawless. It's available on Mac as well as iOS. It's the best place to keep any kind of sensitive information, lockboxes, router passwords, things like that. All of that goes in 1Password. I don't need to remember it. I just have it in there, and I have it when I need it. And for me, though, there is some dispute in the Genesis Slack group as to the optimal to-do list manager. For me, it's OmniFocus. And so OmniFocus for me is to-dos, projects, and action items. It doesn't matter where, but you should have somewhere where your action items go. They're separate from your reference. It's separate from your sensitive information. It's for action items. So that is, for me, is OmniFocus. A lot of people love Todoist, Wunderlist, whatever. Just make sure that you have projects and to-dos and actions somewhere so that you can continue to create Mac awesomeness. And that is it for me. I've gone over my time, but I hope that it was helpful and informative. If you want to reach me, I am at Bodie Quirk on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and there's my email address right there. It has been such an honor. I love this group, and I hope that something that I shared was helpful. So if you have any questions, I'm going to hang out here in the chat room as I have been this whole time. Fire away, and after that, I'm just going to hand it over to whoever's next. Thanks a lot.